fought the rest, now try the best!
We all know that Tekken 8 had a rough past month. Season 2 was terrible. Everyone was laughing, even the Tekken 8 players, right? We had Street Fighter players getting in on the joke, Mortal Kombat players. People were talking about switching to Fatal Fury. Everyone's looking for the next Virtual Fighter thing. But now things are changing. Tekken 8 is recovering. The player count on Steam is returning. No longer is it at 5,000 teetering on 4,000. It's back to 7,000. And with the updates that the developers plan to do in the future, it's going to grow. They have 2 more updates. The past 2 updates was received very well, and they're climbing back. But just as Tekken 8 is climbing back to the top, other fighting games are starting to suffer hard. I mean, for one, you have Guilty Gear Strive. The source code was leaked in arguably the biggest fighting game security breach ever. An entire new season of content and unannounced games was discovered in the files. And this is something that we've seen pretty much all the fighting games deal with, from Mortal Kombat having their base roster leaked and also their DLC. Tekken 8 had their DLC in their base roster. Street Fighter had their DLC in their base roster. These fighting games have to get it under control, because name a fighting game that hasn't released in like the past 5-6 years and their base roster and DLC did not leak. But then when you move on and you talk about what Mortal Kombat is doing, you know, those guys was having a great time laughing at the failure that was Tekken 8. But then those guys were hit with the craziest news ever. You have this first tweet here from Maximilian where he says, uh-oh, and this is responding to Mortal Kombat 1 Definitive Edition. Definitive? The last time I heard this word was with Tekken 7, and Tekken 7 released a definitive edition, and then about 2 years later, Tekken 8 was here. So the fact that Mortal Kombat is now in this place as well, people were shocked, because what you have to mention is what Ed Boon said. Ed Boon said they want to support this game for years to come. They want to go for as long as they can. They want to bring a bunch of content to this game. So to end it after 2 seasons, that's crazy. Like, even though Tekken 8 Season 2 is terrible, everyone is still expecting a Season 3. Now, are we too gullible? Are we like, just, do we got our heads in the clouds? I don't know. But people expect these fighting games, especially the successful ones, to go on for quite some time. I mean, when you look at the sales graph of all of these fighting games, well, the big 3, right? Street Fighter, Tekken, and Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat was doing good in terms of sales. The last time that I spoke about Mortal Kombat on the channel is in relation to their sales. Ed Boon has periodically been posting how popular Mortal Kombat was or is on PlayStation. It's in the top downloads for PlayStation. It's in the top played for PlayStation. But then at the same time, they're ending the support of the game. This person says WB Games is seemingly ending support for Mortal Kombat 1 after 1 year and 8 months with the release of Definitive Edition. NetherRealm previously said there was years of content planned. Another person says, you are a complete joke. Tags Ed Boon. You and your superiors are worse. And this is where the people are starting to turn on the developers of the game, because people feel like they were lied to. Ed Boon promised something with saying we want to support this game for a long time, and then pull the plug. And like we previously established, there was no reason to. The game is super successful. So if a successful Mortal Kombat is being pulled early, then like what's going on there? What's happening? We see this kind of behavior for games that aren't doing successful. Like, we're going to talk about Fatal Fury in just a second. That game is crazy, but it's not Mortal Kombat, right? So it doesn't make sense. Another person says, I wonder how much Ed Boon regret this. And this is them showing on July 26, 2024, the Chaos Reigns DLC. Now, to my understanding, this was received very poorly. First off, people didn't like that Sector and Cyrax was flipped to female. I won't dive into the politics, but that was something that people definitely latched onto. And then also people were talking about who likes Conan the Barbarian. That character is so out there, doesn't make sense. Now, there is a lot of people who like T-1000, but I also seen a lot of people saying the same thing about that character. It just seems so bad with those 4 characters. And then Noob Saibot is great. Ghostface is great. But then also you talk about the Chaos Reigns update itself. People were talking about the story and how it was so terrible. I mean, we make fun of the Tekken 8 DLC story, but at least it was free. Chaos Reigns story was not free, and revealing it all at once and then releasing it and it being terrible, did that backfire on the game? When you talk about how Tekken players are pushing for their developers to reveal the DLC all at once, maybe this is why they don't want to do it, because Mortal Kombat players are now looking back on this, and they're pointing to this being one of the primary reasons that the game isn't getting to season 3. Another person says, I think the game's content cycle has proven that Ed Boon should try to scale back promises might not be able to keep in the current game development climate. Players would be less upset if they weren't promised years of content. We'll go as long as we can type language. Another person says, stop blaming Warner Bros. Ending Mortal Kombat's one life cycle is not a poor NRS shackled by Warner Bros. Decision. It's 100% the fault of NRS. Warner Bros. Made the decision because NRS made an expansion that people didn't buy. That's not Warner Bros. Fault. NRS made the game, not Warner Bros. And now you have to wonder what are they going to do next, right? Because Mortal Kombat 1, the game is done, is the quote. So what's next? Rufomonger spotted that the Warner Bros. Account is already making Injustice posts. Is a Injustice 3 type game coming? We know they were planning to do it, but then they pushed that aside for a rushed Mortal Kombat 1. So now are those plans being revived? Or will Warner Bros. Continue their other idea, and that was to sell off their entire gaming division? That's something you have to keep in mind. Is from the time of 2020 to 2022, they were considering selling their gaming division because it was just worthless to them. They are a multi-billion-dollar company, and they don't need their game division. They could do without it. And with Mortal Kombat being in this position, you have to wonder if those conversations will rise once more. But moving on now and talking about Fatal Fury, because this is a game that the fighting game players really celebrated. A lot of Tekken 8 players switched to the game. A lot of people wanted me to buy the game, play the game, but I just wasn't willing to pay the price. I think the beta was really fun. I like Preacher the character, but I just wasn't really interested in paying money full price for another fighting game. After doing that with Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Sparking Zero, I just feel like some of these fighting games aren't really living up to what they're sold as, and then you pass, you move on. Now with Fatal Fury, a lot of people said this was a really great game. You know, Arsenal was talking about playing it, Punk was playing it. It was set up to be one of the biggest fighting games currently, but as we can see, the game has released and it is not living up to that at all. The headline is SNK's Fatal Fury City of Wolves loses opening match, sells less than 9,000 physical copies in Japan across the first 2 weeks. This game is dead in Japan. They marketed this game like crazy. They marketed this game during WrestleMania, during that one boxing event that took place in Times Square. They had KSI and Speed playing the game, and I believe like some place in London. Crazy. It still failed. Now, as a result of this failure, you have SNK CEO stepping down after heavily marketed Fatal Fury City of Wolves seemingly muted launch. So this is crazy. The guy who was in charge of making this game a success did everything in his power, but the game just did not find a home. And as a result, he's being forced out of a position, it seems. Moments like this is where we should understand why Harada is desperately trying to find a new audience, and why he's desperately catering to Japan, why he's desperate to try to make a profit, because Mortal Kombat, a game that was profitable but then released a bad season, that game died. Fatal Fury, a game that was spoken so highly of in terms of the online community, and a lot of people were really interested in the game, it releases and that game is dead on arrival. I mean, this is the reality of fighting games, which is also why a lot of new companies don't make fighting games. And I'm not talking about the people who always made fighting games. I'm talking about, like, we don't see a fighting game from like EA, from Ubisoft. No one wants to do it because the market for fighting games just is non-existent.